This is a video explainer from Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership's Local Child Safeguarding Practice Review, LAURA. Welcome and thank you for setting aside time for this presentation. My name is Anna Batty and I'm the Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership Business Manager, and I'll be taking you through this presentation. This presentation will include a short explanation of what a Local Child Safeguarding Practice Review is, the circumstances that led to this practice review, and the findings, good practice and recommendations from the review. The full report and a briefing can be found on the Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership. The link is on the screen. Before we start, please be aware that this presentation includes details of child death and child neglect. Please do therefore take care of yourself, as the content may trigger feelings and emotions for you personally and professionally. You can stop the presentation at any time and come back when you feel ready. Before you start, please make sure you have someone you can get in touch with if you need support. This might be your line manager, a designated safeguarding lead, a colleague or a friend. Many employers also have some form of wellbeing offer or service that you might want to check in with. On the slide, you'll also see details of organisations who can provide support. Working Together to Safeguard Children 2023 sets out certain responsibilities for the statutory safeguarding partners when a child is seriously harmed or dies and abuse or neglect is known or suspected. Here in Medway, the statutory safeguarding partners are Medway Council, Kent Police and NHS Kent and Medway. These responsibilities include commissioning local child safeguarding practice reviews. The purpose of a local child safeguarding practice review is for agencies and individuals to learn lessons to improve the way in which they work both individually and collectively to safeguard and promote the welfare of children. They are often completed by independent reviewers. The reviews are not an inquiry into how a child died or was seriously harmed, or who was culpable. These are matters for coroners and the criminal courts to determine as appropriate. A local child safeguarding practice review is about the child, their experiences and our learning, and most importantly, the action we take as professionals, individually and collectively, as a result of this learning. I'm now going to provide a short summary of what we call the trigger event for this local child safeguarding practice review, and a background to the family circumstances, including their contact with services. As a reminder, you can stop this presentation at any time. This local child safeguarding practice review was commissioned in 2023 by Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership after the sad death of the 20-day-old baby known as Laura in the report. The day before Laura's death, the family, including mother, Laura and her two siblings, had been away with relatives. They returned home late and all slept in the same bed. Laura's mother had been drinking heavily during the day and so bottle-fed Laura. The following morning, mother woke to find Laura unresponsive and she could not be revived. The older two siblings were immediately placed into police protection and care proceedings commenced. At the time of Laura's death, her and her family were being supported by early help services. In the past and before Laura's birth, the family had been subject to court proceedings, child protection and child in need planning. Laura's mother had herself been a child known to children's services due to parental substance use and domestic abuse. A feature of the family's experience in the previous 7 years was the number of housing moves that they had, which totalled at least 14 in that timescale. This entailed many moves between local authorities, which paused and interrupted service delivery on many occasions. In addition, the children's fathers were largely unknown to services during this time frame. We'll now move on to the findings from the review that sit in 4 key areas. Again, you're going to hear about child neglect, so please stop and take a break if you need to. So the first area is the impact of multiple house moves and homelessness on the children's well-being and education. The review found that there was no doubt that the multiple house moves experienced by these children impacted enormously on their well-being and education. The family had 14 moves in 7 years across many different boroughs. They were placed in temporary accommodation and were subject to very disruptive life events such as notices to quit. This number of moves is excessive and should have elicited more curiosity about the impact of this on the children. The second area is the challenges of cross-borough working to safeguard children experiencing chronic neglect. Through the review, the children's situation became clearer in terms of the chronic nature and longevity of neglect that they experience through their lives. Opportunities to fully understand the children's situation, including things like mothers drinking, lack of supervision for the children, and the children being hungry and asking neighbours for food, were not utilised. There were times when reports of concern were dealt with individually and there was no follow-through to assess on a statutory footing. Individual responses and fragmented information sharing meant that no one agency or practitioner held the overview of the family at any one time, and this facilitated the slow growth of child neglect over time. The neglect experienced by the children was rarely named in Medway, and although assessments were clear about the family history and contained good analysis, this didn't always lead to robust intervention. There was a lack of professional curiosity about mothers' relationships, and the panel noted missed opportunities to assess mothers' capacity to parent effectively. And finally, despite clear expectation, the Graded Care Profile 2 tool was not used to assess neglect risk over time and to plan interventions. The tool is critical in identifying, naming and understanding neglect. The third area is the identification, referral and assessment of need and risk in pregnancy. This area of practice has been identified as needing improvement from previous reviews in Medway, and this review acknowledges that the issues are similar and cover the parallel period. There are 4 areas of practice that were identified through this review. 1, considering history, information, sharing and referral to the Medway Safeguarding Maternity Hub. 2, the did not attend policy and its implementation. 3, safe sleeping advice. And 4, multi-agency pre-birth procedures and assessment. The final area is assessing the needs of children, including the unborn and their lived experience. Written submissions to this local review gave very little sense of who these children were. There was no exploration of wider family members, including respective fathers, and relationships that the children had. No expression of how they saw themselves, their unique identifiers, a sense of belonging, or their key friendships. Neglectful episodes were seen in isolation instead of gathering more routine information about the children's day-to-day lives. The many reports of mother and the children being with extended family were accepted without practitioners' understanding of what that meant for the children. Balancing what children report and the different accounts of their parents is common in multi-agency work and represents a challenge when accounts conflict. The concept that, first and foremost, practitioners should listen to children does not seem to have been applied. There was very little information about the children's specific identity. Exploring issues of intersectionality would have been a helpful framework to aid practitioners' understanding. The children had different fathers and therefore different extended family, which was not explored. One of the children is a mixed heritage child brought up in an otherwise white family. The children were brought up in a single-parent household, were adversely impacted by poverty, poor housing and multiple moves. The cumulative effect of these factors was not evident across the multi-agency network. The review identified the following good practice. Good practice was seen by Medway social workers in being persistent in ensuring visits took place even when they had to be rearranged. There was good joint working and evidence of relationship building with the family and direct work. Safe sleeping and the risks associated with it were discussed with mother by the midwifery service and the health visitors. Unsafe co-sleeping is a repeated theme from previous local child safeguarding practice reviews, and improvements have been made to this area of practice since this time. Changes have occurred to the referral and criteria for the Medway Maternity Safeguarding Hub. And finally, changes to the maternity services did not attend policy have been implemented, and this was live at the time of this local child safeguarding practice review. Now we're going to consider the recommendations. The report made 8 recommendations for the Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership and individual agencies. The recommendations are set out in the full report and the briefing and will be taken forward by the Learning Lessons subgroup of the Safeguarding Children Partnership. Here are some points for you to consider and reflect on from the recommendations. Does your agency have robust systems in place to ensure that fathers and significant males are actively considered in assessments and ongoing work with families? As a starting point, if you think about the children you are working with now, do you know about their fathers or other males in their life? The midwifery services and GPs should continue their work ensuring robust liaison for pregnant women. This includes the two-way communication about both parents and partners during pregnancy. This work should pay attention to the importance of professional curiosity when exchanging information. It is imperative that practitioners and managers across the partnership are aware of and follow the Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership pre-birth procedures. The procedures include information on pre-birth assessments. So have you read the pre-birth procedure? Has it been discussed in your team meetings? Do you need to find out more about this? To promote and support best practice between the local authority housing services and children's social care, the partnership should review relevant protocols to ensure effective joint working. This is with relevance to families where housing issues are identified as an additional need or are integral to children's protection. Considering the findings of this review about children who experience multiple oppressions and disadvantage, practitioners across all agencies should be equipped with the knowledge and understanding of intersectionality to properly identify and consider these factors when assessing and managing the risks to children. So have you heard of intersectionality? Do you need to find out more and talk about it with your colleagues and manager? Maybe your agency offers specific training. Multi-agency involvement and contribution to assessment, planning and review for vulnerable children across services that provide early help should be strengthened. Ensure you are familiar with the MSCP threshold guidance, which sets out Medway's approach to help, support and agency expectations. The Medway Safeguarding Children's Partnership's implementation of the Graded Care Profile 2 tool should continue to progress the consistent use of the tool with families who have child protection plans for neglect. Also ensuring that all families that have neglect identified in child in need or early help assessment and plans are offered the tool at the earliest opportunity. So are you working with families where child neglect is known or suspected? Have you or another practitioner completed the GCP2 tool with them? If you are not sure, ask the practitioners in the team around the family and discuss with your manager or designated safeguarding lead. Finally, progress is underway to review the MSCP's neglect strategy. A recommendation from the review is to provide clarity for practitioners that for families where a key concern is their living arrangements, the impact of homelessness, poor housing or many moves must be incorporated and assessed along with other factors. So thank you for listening to this presentation. If it has raised some difficult feelings or emotions for you, please do get in touch with your line manager, a designated safeguarding lead, a colleague or a friend. And as a reminder of the organisations that provide support are also on the screen. There are many ways you can keep in touch with the Medway Safeguarding Children Partnership. You can receive the bi-monthly bulletin. Just use the email address on the screen to request a copy. You can also check in with our website or follow us on social media channels. Thank you.